Well, they're still at it. Democrats lying. Hakeem Jeffries absolutely spewing lies about the government shutdown. We're here to expose them all. And Speaker Mike Johnson, he's putting the gavel down on Sombrero Head, and you're going to see it in its glory. It's beautiful. Also, you've seen this story about Republicans' vile, hateful, anti-Semitic, violent text messages. Do not fall for this trap. We're going to lay it all out there, and we're going to show you what you need to know about this story and the left's and the media's hypocrisy. It's disgusting. You're going to see that. We're going to show it to you. And Cheryl Hines, wife of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I guess she's the first lady of Health and Human Services. Is that a thing? She walked into the lion's den with the ladies on The View, and she hammered them beautifully with the truth. What a way to defend your husband. It's all great, and it's all coming up right now. My name's Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry. Hey out there, Larry Legion. Thanks for joining us on our live show, noon Eastern, every single day. Go ahead and give our show a like, a big time like, because that helps boost it so other people who would love this show see it. That's how you saw it, isn't it? I think it is. So if you give this video a like right now, based on the topics that I just laid out, we're going to double our audience. And if you're watching after the fact, do the same thing. And everybody, please subscribe. And one last question here. As we continue with this government shutdown, I want your opinion. Let us know in the live chat or in the comments if you're watching on demand. Somebody's going to blink. Who's it going to bleed? Who's it going to bleed? Who's going to blink? The Democrats or the Republicans? Jeffries and Schumer or Johnson and Thune? Let me know. Who's going to blink? The red or the blue? Thanks for that. Microplastics are infiltrating every part of our lives. You hear about it, you read about it. Scientists estimate we now consume a credit card's worth of plastic every single week. Ugh. Through our food, our water, even the air we breathe. One study found plastic particles in 100% of human lung samples. Nobody is safe from this exposure, and it gets worse. These plastics don't just sit in your body. They cross the gut lining. They leach into your blood. They disrupt everything. They've been shown to alter gut bacteria, suppress your immune response, increase your risk for neurodegenerative disease, metabolic disorders, and cancer. Some plastic toxins like BPA and phthalates mimic hormones. They interfere with fertility and damage DNA. Even if you eat clean or avoid packaged foods, you're still being exposed. You can't opt out of it. But here's the good news. I know you've been waiting for it. Your gut can help you fight back. Kimchi 1 from Brightcore Nutrition is a potent ally in this toxic world. It's packed with over 900 probiotic strains unique to kimchi and proven to break down BPA, helping you detox from the inside out. It doesn't just support digestion. It helps protect your cells, your brain, your hormones, and your future. Your body was never designed to handle plastic. You know that. But your gut was designed to protect you. You just have to give it the right tools. I want you to stick around for a while. I want you to be a part of our community for years. And that means getting healthy. So right now, we're giving you 25% off if you use the code Larry at mybrightcore.com/Larry. That's 25% off with the code Larry at mybrightcore.com/Larry. And if you want an even better deal, and who doesn't, let's double up on this. You call my friends at Brightcore, you'll get up to 50% off and free shipping. That number, 888-462-4779. Make sure you tell them Larry sent you. 888-462-4779. The government shutdown continues. It looks like it's going to go just as long as the Democrats can do their No Kings event in Washington, D.C. this weekend. It's all political, and they're screwing with you. You know that it's political because, well, the Democrats, they continue to lie. They continue to act politically. But the good news is, if you're standing by the Republicans and President Trump, you've got a speaker right now who's got a firm grasp on that gavel, and he called them out today at his press conference. We're going to show that to you in just a second. But check this out. CNN yesterday, Dana Bash actually confronted Hakeem Jeffries on his bullshit to his face.
Engagement to try to find
You're
common
right down
ground.
the hall from Mike Johnson's office. I know exactly where you are. You could probably take a few steps and go knock on the door and talk to him. Have you tried that?
Speaker Johnson hasn't been given permission to have a conversation with me or Leader Schumer, and he said as much earlier today.
So you don't think he would talk to you at all?
We can have a conversation, but the problem is that until they get the green light to actually have a meaningful discussion to try to find common ground and a bipartisan path forward and a willingness to address the damage that Republicans have done to the health, the safety, and the economic well-being of the American people, then of course any informal discussion is going to be not fruitful.
So then what are you doing? Why do you continue to do all these TV appearances trying to, compel Johnson and the Republicans to come sit down if any conversations right now aren't going to be fruitful anyway, because it's all bullshit. And if you watched our show yesterday, you saw us expose all of that aforementioned bullshit. But the point is, Hakeem Jeffries, of course, knows that none of it's true. He knows full well that it isn't true. And I love the fact that Dana Bash actually said, I know exactly where you're standing right now. You're like 40 feet from his office. Why don't you, if you're whining about not having a conversation, go have a conversation with him. But as we explained yesterday, the House has already done their job. Republicans have already passed the funding measure. The government would be open right now if the House of Representatives had anything to say about it. Hakeem Jeffries is a eunuch here. He has no power. He has no sway. Chuck Schumer does. And if you noticed, he's not doing a whole lot of media, is he? Only Sombrero Face over here is. You know how pathetic it is for the Democrats trying to get attention, trying to get media? They did this bogus staged march across the rotunda. I swear these people think that they're still living. Every day for them is some sort of righteous 60s civil rights march where they chant and but look at them all. They look like fools. They're marching to the speaker's office to get this Democrat who was just elected in a special election sworn in. It makes no difference to the government shutdown. And by the way, I love the fact that while they're not working and while they forced the government to shut down, they're demanding that Mike Johnson go show up and swear this woman in. And Johnson said, no, you shut down the government. You're not paying our troops. You're furloughing federal employees. I'm not going to jump when you tell me to go swear somebody in. Whether she gets sworn in now and just sits with the government shutdown or she's sworn in later once we open up the government, it makes no difference. But I ain't going to do your bidding if you're not actually going to vote to open the government. Good for him. But the chanting, watch what happens, though, when they go to the speaker's door. All right, so they're doing this whole scene. They're marching her to the speaker's office. They're going to demand that Mike Johnson come out there. They want the big photo op. They brought the media because that's really all this is about, is the media. And they want the viral moment where Mike Johnson has to confront all these angry Democrats and explain why he hasn't sworn this woman in. And Mike Johnson wasn't there. He wasn't even in the office. I mean, that's the slightest little advance work from these people. All right, before we march down there, can someone call and just make sure that he's there? He wasn't even in the building. It's the perfect allegory for how useless and pathetic and demonstrative all of this is. It's really just to get your attention. And the only thing that's appropriate in response is what we're doing, which is mock them, laugh at them, show them to be the losers that they are. Mike Johnson, he didn't go quite as far as we would, but he was pretty good. Take a look.
We want to specifically focus this morning on one area that's gotten a lot of attention and one segment of the population that truly deserves better treatment than the Democrats are giving them, and that is our military. Today, if it weren't for the bold leadership of President Trump helping us to protect our military, everyone needs to understand that 1.3 million active duty service members would be missing a paycheck. They'll get their check, thankfully, because President Trump has shown strong leadership. And under his direction, the Department of War has now redirected unspent funds to ensure that our troops are taken care of. And this is while Democrats are playing political games. Last night, they played some games. They stormed my office. Maybe you saw some of the video online that they themselves shared, or someone did. They berated a Capitol Police officer, screamed at him. He was just merely standing his post. Shows again their disdain for law enforcement, as we see all around the country, the Democrats and everyone in that party screaming, assaulting ICE officers. They did it right here in the Capitol last night. A few members of Congress went into the little foyer of my office and tore down a sign that I had up and just engaged in all sorts of political stunts and antics. They've been doing that every day now, and it shows their desperation. It also shows a very strong contrast between the party that is working for the people and trying to keep the government open and do the right thing, and the party that is engaging in all this nonsense. But they've shown by their actions and now their votes multiple times now, 9 times the Democrats have voted, counting the House and the Senate Democrats, they have voted to not pay the troops. They have voted to block their paychecks. And it's very serious stuff. And they don't seem to care at all. The problem we have right now is that in spite of President Trump's heroic efforts to make sure they get paid, that is a temporary fix, because the executive branch's help is not permanent. It can't be. And if the Democrats continue to vote to keep the government closed, as they have done now so many times, then we know that U.S. troops are going to risk missing a full paycheck at the end of this month.
All right. So he's not budging on this, and he's now turning the mirror back over to the Democrats and publicly shaming them. They're the ones who are willfully choosing to keep our troops from getting paid. And I just, in terms of images, in terms of what matters to voters, when you want grown-ups to be responsible for your government and actually show up every day to do their job, do the work that the taxpayers need them to do, and just keep the basic functions of government happening. What image do you think works to tell that story? This is the image of the leadership of the Republicans. This is what the Democrats looked like at the same time. I think it's a pretty stark and obvious contrast as to who the grown-ups are and who's serious. And look at them all with their smartphones, all wanting to post their Insta story about how they're chanting and going into an empty office where the speaker isn't even there and bothering a cop. And here you've got the grown-ups who are dressed for work and ready to get to business, if only Democrats weren't playing stupid games. You heard the speaker right there today reiterating what we explained to you yesterday about how President Trump has been able to move some of the money at the Pentagon budget and make sure that our troops get paid. I mentioned this yesterday to you, and I told you that Democrats are angry about that. Democrats are mad that the troops are getting paid. You don't believe me? Well, here was CNN this morning.
How do you feel about these paychecks going out during the shutdown? I don't think anyone's opposed to people being paid, but people look at this and say this could actually extend the shutdown because it takes out some of the pressure points that might exist that would lead Democrats and Republicans to come together.
Oh, you know what? Of course I want our military paid. Of course I want federal law enforcement officers to be paid. There's a way to do that. I'm an appropriator. We should have passed appropriations bills. There's a way to run a government, and this is not the way to run a government.
Yeah. So at the same time that she says, of course, I want the troops to get paid. Well, there's a great way to get them paid. Just pass the bill that's sitting on the table right now. And she knows that. And in terms of appropriations bills, there's like 7 out of 12 that are already ready to go, but they can't get to them until they fund the government. She's lying, and she's playing games. She's playing games with your military. So the question that I posed to you before we started our program today was, who's going to blink, Republicans or Democrats? Someone's going to cave. Somebody's going to cave on this. We know that. So let me show you Mike Johnson, the speaker, this morning, where he talks about what their strategy is and whether they're willing in any way to negotiate or back down and give the Democrats what they want. You watch him, listen to what he has to say, and then you tell me, who do you think is going to blink here?
That we just won't go along with. We won't sell out the long-term security and future of the United States so that Chuck Schumer can prevent a primary challenge from his left wing. We will not be a part of that nonsense. And until Schumer and the left wing of his party are satisfied enough that the pain this shutdown has caused has reached a limit that they're satisfied with, then the Republicans are going to stand here every single day, and we're going to continue to deliver the simple facts directly to the American people.
And it is cutting through, in my opinion, despite the efforts of the corporate legacy media to try to just tell one side of the story, and the side of the story that's full of lies. I mean, you even saw Dana Bash in the clip we showed at the beginning from CNN sort of saying, hey, dude, no one's buying this crap. Where's your sombrero, by the way? Did you shave the mustache? You looked better. Looked better with the mustache. Also, Johnson turned his ire directly to two of the most odious individuals in the United States Congress, Alex Padilla and Adam Schiff, both of California. Are you proud, Golden State? Are you proud?
Now, this is worthy of note. Both California senators, Adam Schiff and Alex Padilla, are gleeful about this government shutdown. They agree with Chuck Schumer when he said very candidly just a few days ago, every day of the shutdown gets better for us. Who's the us? He's talking about Democrats. He thinks this is assisting their party and giving him political cover so he doesn't attract a Marxist challenger in his next Senate reelect. That's what this is about. So he thinks the government shutdown is allowing him to show a fight against President Trump and Republicans, and he is happy about that.
Wow, he went there, but that is absolutely the truth. Everyone knows it inside the Beltway in D.C. They're just acknowledging it as a fact. Everything you're seeing from Schumer, and here's why I can prove to you that it was a fact. This exact same issue came up in March, and Schumer did the responsible thing, signed the continuing resolution, and kept us from going into a government shutdown in March, and he was destroyed. And who was leading the attack on Chuck Schumer? None other than that plucky little Latina from the Bronx, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's raising money like nobody's business. And the second she decides to challenge Chuck Schumer in a primary for Senate, it's over for Chucky Boy. And that's why he's fighting like this. It's demonstrative. It's just to fend off that primary challenge. Honestly, the only thing that's going to save Chuck Schumer from the primary challenge is when AOC decides to swing for the fences and actually run for president in 28 instead of small potatoes running for Senate in 26. I'm glad that Johnson actually called Schumer out on that. It makes him even more pathetic than he appears. Finally, over on CNN, great moment here with former Congressman Peter Meyer, who's sort of cutting through the noise here because everyone's like, oh, yeah, the Democrats have the upper hand here. Democrats always win this, always win these fights. Well, yeah, they always drive the media narrative because they always have the media doing their bidding for them. But when the chips are down, and when push comes to shove and the American people actually pay attention to this issue, well, former Congressman Meyer actually explains it all, and it's hard to argue with him.
I don't think this is good for the Democrats. I mean, you have Donald Trump negotiating Mideast peace and flying to Egypt to oversee an agreement between Hamas and Israel. And meanwhile, Chuck Schumer is parading around the Senate, trying to stage a photo op. I mean, the split screen between actual governance of the Trump administration and just a Senate Democrats trying to figure out their message, right? Senator Van Hollen pointed out, or he called the expiring Obamacare subsidies a ticking time bomb that Republicans planted. They were introduced in ARPA, the American Rescue Plan, in 2021. I know, I was in Congress. We all voted against it on the Republican side. That was a Democrat budget reconciliation bill. It got to the Senate, and it needed 50 Senate votes. They talked about making it permanent, could not get unified Democratic support to make it permanent. It came up again in the Inflation Reduction Act. They kicked it can down the road. Again, solely Democrats voting in support of this could not get Democrats to agree to make these permanent. And now somehow, years later, it's the Republicans that are the sticking point. You were right in March, sir. Chuck Schumer should just continue to reopen the government. And right now, Donald Trump is having to take tariff revenue to support food stamp and WIC programs. He's reallocating budgets within DOD so that troops are getting paid. He's actually doing work, and Democrats are still figuring out their message.
Brilliant. Well said. The star of the national tour of Jesus Christ Superstar, Peter Meyer, is absolutely correct. He's not? Because he looks like, with the, okay. Well, either way, former Congressman Peter Meyer is 100% accurate, correct. As we explained yesterday, Democrats are really shutting down the government just for publicity purposes, to build their mailing list, to raise some money and to do their big rally this weekend, and then to pretend that they're trying to fight to lower your premiums. But remember, please don't forget, what they're really doing is fighting for tax dollars to go to subsidize the health insurance companies. That's what it means to have a subsidy to lower your premiums. I mean, your premiums are still expensive. The difference is somebody else is paying part of it. And that money goes where? To the health insurance companies. The same people that they want to celebrate when their CEO gets assassinated. They love holding up the insurance companies as the big bad monsters, and yet they're taking your tax dollars to fund them, all because they broke. our health insurance system in the first place by forcing Obamacare down your throats. And it was all done with lies. You like your doctor, you can keep your doctor? Lie. You like your insurance, you can keep your insurance? Lie. Republicans are making your insurance more expensive because they don't want to continue the subsidies from COVID? Damnable lie. It's all obvious. It's all proven. All you got to do is find the facts yourself. They're all out there if you're interested. That's why you're here. And I'm glad you are. So, final exit question. Who's gonna blink? Who's gonna cave? Who has the upper hand here? Let us know down below. And as you're thinking and voting, I'll tell you what I think. What Peter Meyer said there is the most important part right at the beginning there. On one side of the screen, Donald Trump has been able to fly to the Middle East and get the Arab nations, Egypt, Israel, Western Europe, Canada, and Gaza and Hamas to all agree to end a 2-year war and have the hostages released back to their families. He got those people to agree and have everybody celebrating on all sides of the equation. And yet somehow, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, AOC, and Bernie Sanders can't figure out a way to reach an agreement with that same man. What's broken here? Do Trump gets Israel and Hamas to agree to a deal that they're both happy with? Maybe the problem is the Democrats. Just maybe. Buy gold. Let me try that again. Buy gold and get free silver. That's a great deal. And right now, for every $5,000 purchased from Birch Gold Group this month in advance of Veterans Days, they're going to send you a free patriotic silver round that commemorates the Gadsden and American flags. Don't believe me? I've got one. Take a look at that, baby. See your Gadsden flag? Yeah, don't tread on my silver round, baby. Gold is up over 40% since the beginning of this year. Birch Gold can help you own it by converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Plus, they're going to send you free silver. Oh, yeah, that's real. Free silver honoring our veterans and on all qualifying purchases. And if you're current or former military, Birch Gold has a special offer just for you. Thank you for your service. They're waiving custodial fees for the first year on investments of any amount. They've got an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, tens of thousands of happy customers, many of whom are right out there right now watching or listening. I encourage you to find out how you can diversify your savings into gold. Text my name, Larry, to 989898. Get a free info kit and claim your eligibility for free silver with qualifying purchases before the end of this month. Act now. Again, text my name, Larry, to 989898. Do that today. Thanks. I'm sure you've seen this story now. It's circulating around. Politico had it. It has to do with a bunch of vile, racist, anti-Semitic, absolutely atrocious text messages amongst chat groups on, I think, Telegram or Telegraph. What's the name of the message group? Anyway, they're all texting each other, and they're members of Young Republicans at various chapters around the country. And it's, it's getting absolutely condemned all over the place for these. Yeah, these young people should be jailed, for God's sake. They should be banished from our country. They should be stripped of their citizenship. Don't fall into this trap. This entire story is a media construct. And sadly, a couple of people on my side of the equation have fallen into it. We're going to show you the truth and break down this made up fake story right now. All right, first, here's how Politico framed the story. I love Hitler. Leaked messages expose young Republicans' racist chat. Thousands of private messages reveal young GOP leaders joking about gas chambers, slavery, and rape. All right. First of all, let me just say unequivocally that if these people, no matter what their age is and no matter what their political affiliation is, if they truly in their heart believed some of the things, any of the things that were said in these text messages, they got serious problems. They've got a broken moral compass. If they truly believe this and own these ideas in their hearts, that's absolutely, I disavow and I don't want to have anything to do with them. Period. End of discussion. But what if these young people involved in politics, involved in our popular culture, observing the world that we live in right now and where we've come for the last 10 years, from the wokeisms and political correctness and COVID-19 and the pandemic shutdown and the inability to interact with each other. And maybe you've been told your entire life that you're not allowed to say things or think things, otherwise you're going to burn in hell, or at least the political cultural hell of our cancel culture in this country, and you've had enough of all of that garbage. Maybe you've got some friends and you go through a text exchange with them where you try to outrageous each other because you're trying to be funny and you're trying to get attention. What if that's really the case here? And I ask anybody who's watching this program or listening to this program who has young people in their lives and interact with them, especially people of a generation from the age of about 17 to 27 right now who have been impacted by the world we have created for them. I'm sure you've had conversations with them. I'm sure you've witnessed some of their humor, some of their dark and edgy humor, some of their outrageous over-the-top humor, the way they interact with each other, the way they talk to each other. This is exactly what this story is. Again, I want to reiterate, any of these people actually truly do believe, I don't want to have them anything to do with my movement or my politics. But I don't think that's what's going on here. Also, by the way, it is impossible to separate this story from two other major stories that have happened in the last 4 weeks. You want to talk about really horrible, vile text messages? I happen to remember that a elected official, former member of the House of Delegates, and now candidate for Attorney General in Virginia, not some young Republican hanging out with his dudes goofing with text messages. No, I'm talking about Jay Jones, the man who was 3 weeks away now from being elected Attorney General of Virginia, who was not joking around with text messages. And it wasn't with some buddy, it was with a fellow member of the House of Delegates wishing death upon police officers, a fellow member of the House of Delegates, and children, so that he could win a political argument. And he hasn't lost his job. He hasn't been roundly condemned. He hasn't had the governor of New York say this about him.
Some bad apples. These are the future of the Republican Party. This was so vile. It is hard to find the words to put into context that these are people who are part of a political party, one of two major political parties, and they believe in gas chambers and rape and discrimination based on the color of people's skins. These are racist, sexist, disgusting remarks. And I would say this. We have a leader from the Republican Party in this state, the highest ranking individual, who in the backdrop of all this calls our candidate for mayor, one of our candidates for mayor, a jihadist and a terrorist, and then somehow says, oh, what they said, these young Republicans, was wrong. Like, look at what you say yourself. Look at your inflammatory words. And maybe they have an effect on these young people, many of whom you support and have supported you. And you ought to just do a little re-examination of how far this has gone, where this is normalized enough that thousands of texts are uncovered. This is not one person saying they love Hitler. This is a whole lot of people saying things that are so disgusting and so abhorrent that everybody from the president on down should condemn them. And there's got to be consequences. Kick them out of the party. Take away their official roles. Stop using them as campaign advisors. There needs to be consequences. This bullshit has to stop.
Okay, first of all, about Zohran Mamdani, who she just referenced, he literally has constantly said to globalize the intifada. If you don't want to call that jihadi kind of language, okay, that's just your own word choice. But you know who else says globalize the intifada? Jihadis. I mentioned there were two things that happened in the last 4 weeks that kind of put context in this fake ridiculous non-story story from Politico, who went out of their way to try to find something to counteract the J. Jones story. The other thing that happened in the last 4 weeks was the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And it was brought upon directly because of the assassination fantasy language that Democrats, elected officials, all the way up to the top of their party, all the way down to the grassroots on Facebook, constantly use against Republicans and President Trump. You know what you do with Hitler? If Hitler is in charge of your government, well, if you're a moral, righteous person, you kill Hitler. And they tried to. And they succeeded with Charlie Kirk, one of the most influential political operatives who helped Hitler get elected. And we're now meant to respect people like this and their righteous indignation and their sanctimony and their finger pointing at you. That she said there should be accountability and people should lose their jobs. Okay, put a pin in that thought. We'll get to it in a second. But first, let's look at all the other Democrats who suddenly had something to say about people sending vile, hateful text messages. Chuck Schumer, sickening, revolting, vile, makes you want to throw up. This is the kind of garbage that the worst kind of people say when they think nobody's watching. And where are Republican leaders from Trump on down condemning these comments swiftly and unequivocally? I'm waiting to hear it. Boy, it's almost like they were just waiting for this story to drop so they could all gird themselves and put on their own armor to protect themselves from J. Jones and all of the garbage they've been saying and continue to say about Charlie Kirk and about Republican leaders. Yeah, it's almost like that. Chris Murphy of Connecticut, what a jackass. This is some vile stuff. These aren't teenagers. Many are Republican staffers. At least one works for Trump. Epithets like retarded and N-word appeared more than 251 times combined. Yeah, well, you know what? That sounds like the Congressional Black Caucus on open mic, not in text messages. Hakeem Jeffries, of course, jumped in the middle of it. Disgraceful New York Republicans Mike Lawler and Lee Stefanik had been palling around with these racist, anti-Semitic, and bigoted young Republicans for years. Their silence exposes what's always been true. The phony outrage was nothing more than performance. Mike Lawler, God bless him, responded to Sombrero Face. You're a complete and total fraud, Hakeem. I denounced their racist, anti-Semitic comments and called for their resignations. You won't condemn Mamdani's fundraising for UNRWA, which helped kill Jews on October 7th, or Jay Jones, who fantasized about his killing his opponents and children. And that's 100% right. They keep saying, I didn't hear any Republicans condemning. No, actually, you heard condemnation across the board. And you heard people say, yeah, you know what? If they really believe this crap, they should be fired. They should lose their jobs. And if they were reckless enough to joke around about these things in text messages that could hurt people politically, well, if they're a part of a political entity and they hurt people politically, even if they're joking around, yeah, maybe they should have career consequences for that. That's what most Republicans yesterday did say. But J.D. Vance, and he's been around the block a bit. And by the way, he's been in those rooms with Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn and other young people who do try to outrageous each other almost as a game. None of it is serious and nobody takes it seriously. And J.D. Vance put it in proper perspective. First, he tweeted out a picture of Jay Jones's murderous tweets. By the way, you go look at all of these text messages. You don't find things as directly threatening as what Jay Jones sent to a colleague about his colleague. And J.D. Vance says this is far worse than anything said in a college group chat. And the guy who said it could become the AG of Virginia. I refuse to join the pearl clutching when powerful people call for political violence. Thank you. I mean, honestly, what has graver impact? What actually makes a bigger difference in people's lives? Here's the problem. They have seen Abigail Spanberger spiraling in Virginia. They already had the drapes and carpet picked out for the governor's mansion for Governor Abigail Spanberger months ago. And now she's in the fight for her political life, and her pathetic lack of political skills is being so exposed that they are grasping at straws. They picked up the bat phone and they said, Politico, do something. We need help. And so Politico did whatever they could. In the immortal words of my mentor, Andrew Breitbart, who was inundated with the kind of critiques and attack that we are seeing right now in American politics on a daily basis. As Andrew Breitbart would say, at a time like this, apologize for what? We are constantly held to a different standard, not a higher standard, a completely different standard. We have seen how the rules are different for us versus the people who control the power in this country on the political left. Not just the government power, law enforcement at the federal level, at the FBI and the Justice Department, and in the court systems, but also the power in our politics, in our pop culture, in academia, in the music industry, the film industry, in Hollywood, in big tech. We've seen how they treat us and the standard they make us rise to, and the absolute absence of standards for anyone who's on the other side of the political equation from your typical conservative. Apologize for what? J.D. Vance is not alone. I'm not alone. Andrew Breitbart is not alone. Somebody else like Andrew is reminding us of this beyond the grave. Charlie Kirk got it. He understood. As he said on Twitter, the left has never played by our rules. Only we play by our rules. Our rules are what keeps our side from winning. We either want to win or we will lose under some delusion that the rules mean anything. You may not like that. You may think that, oh, we'll never come back from this brink. Oh, if we continue with this madness, if we continue with that kind of posture against our political opponents, our country will never unify. You may be right. But here's the thing. There's a reason why the statue of justice holds scales, because it's supposed to be equal. And justice is supposed to be meted out equally, no matter what. There's also a reason why that statue is blind. That statue doesn't care what you look like or how you vote, because justice is supposed to be justice. Does anyone in this country think that those are the rules we've been playing by? Of course not. And so how do we tip those scales back and make them balanced? How do we put that blindfold back on? Well, the only way is for those who have been inflicting this fake version of justice on us for decades with no apologies and no mercy and no grace. They need to understand what it's like. Until they call the truce, it can never change. And by the way, I know everyone's like, oh, these aren't teenagers. Yeah, okay. These are young Republicans. It means they're in college or they're just out of college. And I don't know if you know a lot of people who are, 19, 20, 21, up to 25, 26 years old. They might not be like you or I were when we were that age, okay? They've been through a very different America. They've been through Obama's America. They've been through the Trump and the Russian collusion and the fake news about Trump being Hitler and a stolen election kind of America. They were also through the cancel culture and social media America. They were also through the COVID-19 pandemic America, where they were not allowed during their formative years to actually normally interact with people in the same social way that you and I did, okay? So think about that for a second while we pivot our camera a bit, and instead of looking at text messages that people said in a private chat group as young Republicans, let's instead look at what the young Democrats are up to these days, not privately, not in a chat room, but right out there on the streets, out in the open. Here's how young Democrats reacted upon the death of Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk just got shot in the neck. Hey, ooh, ha, ooh.
He had it coming. He only had himself to blame.
Charlie Kirk got shot and he's dead. Finally. Thank you. Can we keep this up?
Charlie Kirk was a fucking Nazi. He was a fucking Nazi. And you know what kind of Nazi is the best Nazi? A dead one. Thank God that shit stain of a person is no longer in this world. Bad people should not be in this world.
Shot right in the voice box. I might be 1% less atheist today.
I don't care that he was a person. He wasn't to me. He was a Nazi. I think he's better off gone. So fucking be it. This is so bad. This is so bad. Shut the fuck up.
Thoughts and prayers. Rest in smoke, Charlie Kirk.
Popped for talking outside of his neck.
Whoop-de-doo!
Eye for an eye, bitch. I think the only thing that went wrong that day was that Trump wasn't standing behind him getting a secondhand bullet.
This is poetic. My thoughts go out to that pew pew having to look this motherfucker in the face. My deepest condolences.
I literally could not give a fuck. They can get a stepfather. Boomed, bitch, like, gone. Why do y'all keep aiming for the wrong niggas? Aim higher.
Oh, Charlie Kirk.
You support Charlie Kirk being killed?
Yes, I do.
You support Charlie Kirk shooter?
He did us all a favor. I would have killed him myself.
He was such a good person. Why did he get shot?
What do you think we're gonna do? Honestly, y'all, he had it coming. Charlie Kirk was a big advocate for the Second Amendment. It worked out well for him.
I don't give a fuck about Kirk's death. He had 2 kids. Fuck his kids. Shut your fuck about that white boy kid. They probably autistic anyway. Your fuck about that white boy kid.
He was shot in the middle of saying something transphobic about trans people, and yet you want to have sympathy for him. You're losing your humanity by allowing fascists to define your sympathy for you.
You know, sometimes revenge is a dish best served cold. He died in a world that he wanted. We read slavery, we watch Roots. There are so many different eras of American history and in America where worse things have happened to people.
Why are you mourning the death of a literal Nazi?
Lost a loving husband and a devoted father.
Now that Charlie Kirk's gone, Miss Candace Owens, I suggest you stay home with your white baby and your white husband and shut the fuck up and stay out of the limelight. Okay? Stay safe out there, girl. You gonna need it.
I think you get the point. Listen, I'm sorry that y'all had to see that. I'm sorry y'all had to hear that. But we need to give some foundation and context to this story so you understand why I continue to repeat the words of Andrew Breitbart. He said them just the day that he died. Apologize for what? You just saw that. What were those people joking? Were those people hiding behind a private group text and just saying things knowing that it wouldn't be exposed by a political reporter? Because political reporters never go looking for vile things that Democrats say in a private chat room. No. Think about the world that we live in, where those people that you just saw feel that emboldened. They feel so confident that they can say the things they just said hours after the murder of Charlie Kirk and know that there will be no repercussions, that they won't get canceled, that they won't lose their jobs, that they will not be condemned. They know that they're safe and they can say whatever they want. Time to put those scales back in balance. Time to put that blindfold back on the statue, you see? That's my point. Do not fall into this trap that they are setting for you. Stop right now. Oh, and one other thing. I asked you to put a pin in Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York's statement there about how there's no accountability and there's no condemnation and people should lose their jobs. Well, it's funny she should say that because unlike the Democrat Party, unlike every Democrat elected official who has endorsed Jay Jones for Attorney General of Virginia, unlike every elected official and every candidate running for office right now who refuse to condemn Jay Jones and call for him to exit the race and show some dignity and honor and not put himself on the ballot to be the Attorney General of Virginia, unlike every single Democrat who are standing by Jay Jones after his vile, murderous, violent text messages about a colleague, unlike Democrats, we actually are showing some accountability. Young Republicans, board of directors, who these people are affiliated directly with, who sent these text messages in this chat group. Here's their statement. We're appalled by the violent and inexcusable language revealed in the Politico article published today. Such behavior is disgraceful, unbecoming of any Republican, and stands in direct opposition to the values our movement represents. Those involved must immediately resign from all positions within their state and local young Republican organizations. We must hold ourselves to the highest standards of integrity, respect, and professionalism. They're calling for their resignation. They're demanding accountability, and yet you've got these Democrats from Chuck Schumer to Hakeem Jeffries to Chris Murphy to Kathy Hochul's like, where's the accountability? Where's that? It's there because the truth doesn't matter. This isn't about the accountability. This isn't about these young people losing their jobs. This is about playing political games in the media to try to protect themselves from who they are and what they've done. All right? The accountability is all over the place. Here's young Republicans of Texas. We're appalled by these violent, hateful text messages. Jay Jones must drop out of the AG race immediately. Well, I mean, they made their point, and I think I did too. Why is this important? Well, it's important partly because of the Jay Jones story, partly because of everything that I just laid out for you about how we got here in the scales of justice and the different standards. But it's also because even after the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, twice, even after the successful assassination of Charlie Kirk, even after the hateful, murderous rhetoric of Jay Jones, dehumanizing Republicans, and acting like they deserve to have a bullet in the head, even after all of that and all of the fake pretend concern over what Jay Jones said, even though they refuse to actually demand his resignation, after all of that, they're still at it, and they just won't stop. Here's CNN last night reacting to the Politico fake story.
But Keith, is that what you're saying? Is that this is representative of the Republican Party?
I am saying exactly that. The Republican Party in the past 10 years has moved down the road of racism. So it's not surprising that you see the open embrace of Nazism, of anti-Semitism, of homophobia, of transphobia, of sexism, of attacks on immigrants and xenophobia. Because the Republican Party under Donald Trump, has doubled down on its racism.
All right.
There you go. That was last night on CNN. They've gone unabated. They're proud of it. This is CNN. Yes, this is the Republican Party. This is who they are. Those text messages, that's who they are. And if you're a viewer and you believe that garbage, well, probably might get motivated to do something about it. In fact, it got even worse. You flip over on MSNBC. What are they saying over there about Trump and Republicans? Again, just a year after the assassination attempt on his life, just a month after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. What are they saying about us?
How obsessed is Trump with Chicago, in part because it is President Obama's hometown?
Oh, I think massively. I mean, look, but you also can't overstate how much his lieutenants like Stephen Miller and others are aware of Chicago's history. Now Donald Trump isn't a student of history, let alone has ever even cracked a history book open. But the people around him know that Chicago's got a history of protest. Chicago has a history of riots. And they're looking for cities where they can create unrest. Now, Nicole, I'll go all the way back to when I first came forward after the Trump administration, the first Trump administration, and unmasked myself. One of the first things I talked about is Donald Trump's reference to this thing he called at the time his magical authorities. That's how he described the Insurrection Act. Why did I choose that to be the first thing I sounded the alarm about to the public when I came forward? Because it was the thing I was most worried about him doing. That's what he described the Insurrection Act as, his magical authorities. He wanted us to use it at the border. We said it wasn't legal. He wanted people like Mark Esper to use it against protesters in 2020. They told him it wasn't legal. Now he's got those people out of his administration. Now he's got people who are willing to let him use it without cause in major cities. And this is why, Nicole, I think people like J.B. Pritzker and Governor Newsom need to call an urgent meeting of America's governors. Maybe it's just the blue state governors, but this is it. This is the moment all the governors need to get together and say, we should talk about mutual aid pacts and joint boycotts and ways to get leverage over the federal government, because the Trump administration is coming for them. This is an urgent moment of national security.
This is Civil War talk. Donald Trump is going to illegally invoke the Insurrection Act and invade American states and cities, and the governors need to fight back. This is an urgent moment. This is Civil War talk. This is the kind of talk that over on NBC is accepted as intellectual analysis and really important perspective on what's really going on in our country, and anyone else watching it sees it for what it is. It's a call for assassination. I say that because it's worked in the past. And they'll take a day or a day and a half off from it, and then they'll get right back to it. This is what they're doing, and this is who they are. And so forgive me for not losing sleep over young Republicans exchanging text messages in a group chat and Politico exposing it. Forgive me if I don't bend the knee and kiss the ring of Kathy Hochul and Hakeem Jeffries and Zohran Mamdani, because I'm not properly upset about these text messages, this chat group. Forgive me if I continue to say appropriately, apologize for what? All right. One last segment, and then we'll get to your super chats. Cheryl Hines is a Hollywood actress. She was on Curb Your Enthusiasm. She met Robert F. Kennedy Jr., fell in love, Hollywood power couple. Everything was great. She was celebrated. They loved her. Everybody loved her in Hollywood and in the media and the Democrat Party. It was terrific. And then, damn it, Bobby, why'd you have to go and support Donald Trump? Well, things have changed for Cheryl Hines, but I got to tell you something. She is a loving and loyal wife. And she just wrote a book about her relationship, about Bobby, about their love, and about what she stands for and who she is. And she's selling the book. And that means, well, she had to go talk to these women. She went on The View. And it went about how you'd expect. But I want you to watch Cheryl Hines defend her husband and defend the truth and push back on these horrible, horrible people.
Your husband, when he announced basically that he believed he found some causal links between autism and Tylenol, it created a lot of panic in women who were being told by their OBGYNs who look at them that Tylenol, if necessary to treat pain during pregnancy, is safe. What would you say, and I know you're not a medical professional, but to women who now feel anxious and nervous because their doctor's telling them one thing, but the top public health professional is telling them something very different?
Not a professional.
Well, they said consult your doctor before taking it. That's what they were saying, and that holds. So I agree. Listen, I've been pregnant. I understand it's stressful being pregnant. I found, because you're so concerned with everything. I didn't drink caffeine when I was pregnant. So to say, hey, consult your doctor before you take this, I agree with that, and I think that's okay for moms to hear.
Yeah, and just to jump in here, I mean, I hate to state the obvious, but Alyssa Farah there, sitting in the conservative seat on The View, please, she's not a doctor either. And if she's quoting what other doctors are saying, she just said, well, there was some concerns about links between Tylenol and autism, and there's concerns from Bobby Kennedy and HHS, but doctors have a very different story. No. Wait a minute. Actually, doctors don't have a very different story. Neither does Tylenol, by the way. Tylenol is still on the record saying that pregnant women should not use their product or take great care when they use their product, right? I mean, we all saw that. We all know that. And doctors, by the way, recommend against any pain relieving agents right now, like Tylenol for pregnant women, unless there are specific circumstances and taken in moderation and lower dosages. Of course, you should talk to your doctor, but it isn't actually, Alyssa, a very different story. It's not very different at all if we're worried about misinformation when it comes to the health industry. But there's more here. It gets kind of ugly, as you can imagine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now,
all right.
I am. This is not your fight, really, to be fighting.
Yeah.
This is your husband's fight.
Thank you for acknowledging that. But go ahead. But hear what we're talking about.
I do want to say, you know, he's not a doctor and he's not a professional.
Yes.
And oftentimes when he's speaking, he is speaking not with the best information that we can get, because, you know, yeah, we could do a lot better with health stuff. And there's a lot of stuff he can do. And some of the things he's suggested take it out of the hands of my doctor and me and my OBGYN and me. And I wonder, does it give you pause, and are you able to say, you know, that might not actually be so, because I've got my experience and I've lived with this and I'm still here. So are you able to have those conversations with her?
All right, and we're going to get the answer here in a second, but I just want to point out how insidious, rude, and despicable this was. She starts the whole thing off by saying, this isn't really your fight. You know, we're angry at things your husband said, and you don't have to come here and defend it. Which, by the way, if that's the case, then let's move on and talk about the book. See, but they want to pick this fight. So you preface it first by saying, you know, we really shouldn't hold you accountable for your husband, but now we're going to. But then the question was even worse than that. If your lived experience and the life that you've had and the experience you've had differs from what your husband is saying, well, are you able to tell him that? Are you able to pick a fight with your husband? Are you kidding me? Is this question ever asked of the spouse of a Democrat? Ever? Never. How incredibly rude and offensive, but it's The View. It's Whoopi Goldberg.
I am able to have those conversations. And just to be clear, 90% of secretaries of HHS have not been doctors.
But they've had a
There have
science
been
background.
3.
Yeah.
No, to be honest,
one of Obama's secretaries of HHS was an economist.
But
So
the majority of them that haven't had medical backgrounds have had science backgrounds.
And the last Secretary of Health and Human Services for Biden was Javier Becerra, who was a lawyer and politician from LA and had nothing to do. These people are maddening. I know we shouldn't even watch this show, and I'm not watching it because they're so awful. We're watching it together because she was really good, and that should be celebrated.
Don't do anything else. Don't say anything else yet.
Because I do
we
wanna-
have to take a break.
Yeah. It's funny how those breaks always happen just at the right time. All right. So there's more from this interview. Let's watch.
The problem, respectfully, is that your husband is the least qualified Department of Health and Human Services head that we've had in history.
I do not.
I think that's a very dangerous.
Why is he less qualified than an economist?
I think
How is
that
that
he
possible?
is less
He has
qualified.
spent his career studying toxins, studying people's health, fighting for one guy who was using Roundup for his job.
He has also spread a lot of misinformation, a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion, and I think it's just a very dangerous thing. I say it with the utmost respect.
Some of it's good and some of it's not. That's
Well,
the point.
listen, we all have different views here.
Yes.
And when you say, misinformation, disinformation, we could go back to COVID when
He's connecting circumcision to autism.
May I finish?
Please.
When Fauci people were saying when you get the vaccine, you cannot transmit COVID. It will stop COVID. And that was disinformation, misinformation.
We were also still learning about it. It was a novel virus we've never encountered before.
Right.
Because now the doctors will acknowledge that.
And Dr. Fauci has a medical
At the time, they were
degree.
censoring Bobby because Bobby said, where's the science to show us this? And there wasn't any. But people attacked him and said, you're wrong. So it's like, let's take a step back. I know that's your opinion, and that's okay.
I just want you to see what happened there. I don't know if you caught it or not. Well, he doesn't have any science background. He doesn't have any science degree, and what he says is dangerous. And Cheryl Hines says, okay, well, Anthony Fauci was a doctor, and he told you this about the vaccines, and that wasn't true. And Sunny Hostin's answer was, well, yes, but at least he was a doctor. Oh, okay. So let me just be clear here. When a doctor lies to you about something using his power and credibility at the Department of Health and Human Services, and he's wrong and he harms people, it's okay because at least he was a doctor. We hold him to a lower standard. But if you're not a doctor, and by the way, nobody's pointed out anyone's been harmed because of any policy that Robert F. Kennedy has put out there. And also, that's the other thing. Do you notice they're not talking about policy? They're talking about things Kennedy says, not policies. But Kennedy, because they think he's unqualified, well, that's worse. I don't know. Maybe it's me, but I feel like this is upside down. If you're a doctor and you're using your power and authority and credibility in a government position of public health, and you spread misinformation and disinformation and people are harmed because of it, which is what Anthony Fauci did, and you're a doctor, I think that actually it's worse than somebody who isn't a doctor. All right, now let's get Joy Behar in here. I know how much you're missing her.
When you say that they are pro-vaccine, it seems as though Bobby and Trump are casting doubt on the efficacy of the vaccine, which makes Americans very nervous. So that's the problem that we're having.
Okay, I understand. I understand that. And it's interesting because I don't know if you saw 60 Minutes just did a piece about the vaccine injury compensation program.
Yeah.
So people that have had vaccine injuries can be compensated if they can prove it. And they have paid out $5.4 billion for vaccine injuries. So my question is, can we do better?
Is that all vaccines or just the COVID vaccine?
It's all vaccines.
It's all vaccines.
As far as I know.
Okay.
As far as I know.
Okay.
But so the question is, yes to vaccines. Yes, they are important, and they are an important part of our healthcare. Can we do better? Can we make them safer? Can we make them, can we listen to parents who say, my child got the vaccine and changed and stopped hitting markers, stopped developing the way they were developing? Can we listen to people when they say that instead of saying, you're crazy?
I agree with that, but you want to listen. But you want to listen.
No, and then they just want to talk over her. And then they just want to talk over her, and they want to disagree with her, and they want to get their little clapping seals in the audience to applaud for them when they say something rude and disrespectful and inaccurate. And God bless her for walking in there and dealing with it from all sides, literally. I mean, look at that image. Look at the arms up. Look at everyone, raising their hands and trying to protest her and this and that. And it's like, and she was calm and she was clear and she was direct, and you got to love it. And let me just cut through the bit here because it's obvious what's going on here. If this were 5-10 years ago and they had Cheryl Hines on to talk about her husband Bobby Kennedy and talk about his activism and talked about his concerns about chemicals in our foods and in our environment and talk about concerns and unexplored areas with regard to pregnancy and medications and the causal effect that it might have on the developing baby in the womb. And also, by the way, there's some questions about vaccines. They may have challenged, they may have asked some questions, but they would have loved her. They would have praised Bobby. They would have Bobby on too. And it would have been a really important and engaging and serious segment there about all of those very exact same issues. Bobby Kennedy's great sin, according to the women at that table, is not his position on the environment, not his positions on food additives or chemicals in our food and big agriculture, not his concerns about vaccines or medications and how they relate to pregnancy or child development, and his opposition to big pharma and the free pass that they've gotten from accountability in the federal government with all of these experiments. Their argument is not about any of those things with Bobby Kennedy. His sin boils down to one thing: Trump. That's it. because they don't actually hold any of the values or principles or standards they espouse on this show. Their only principle is holding and attaining power and keeping you and your political movement out of power. That's it. And Bobby Kennedy hurt the cause, so she must be sacrificed. She must be destroyed. So let's see. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 against 1 here of the screaming, obnoxious, clueless, duplicitous women who are impossible and grating and just uncomfortable to watch and listen to. 5 just isn't enough. Can we just close the circle here with number 6? Look who's still around. Kamala Harris. And she decided to chime in, not on The View. She's on her book tour. And she wanted to chime in about our health policies because she did such a great job there, didn't she? With the vaccines and COVID and social distancing and maxing policies. She was all about the truth and accurate information. Right? Right, Kamala?
In all seriousness, and many of you know my background, and you also know that I am the daughter of a mother who was a scientist. And my mother had 2 goals in her life: to raise my sister Maya and me, and to end breast cancer. And my mother, when we were growing up, used to go to this place that Maya and I only knew as Mommy is going to this place called Bethesda. Because you see, my mother was an advisor at NIH. And she would leave us in the Bay Area to go to NIH to work with scientists who have as their goal to alleviate pain and to uplift the human condition. And when I see what these people are doing right now to end the war on cancer, to deny science and fire scientists, Kara, it's personal for me. Yeah. It's personal for me. Mm-hmm. And I can't laugh at it because, like so many of you who have known people who suffer because of unknown diseases or cancers for which there are no cures, or there is the beginning of, but more work that needs to be done for the cure. What they are doing to push misinformation and lies at the highest level of government, it's criminal. And people will die because of what they're doing. I can't laugh about that. I'm sorry. It's fucked up.
It's fucked up.
Well, the good news is we can laugh at you because you're an incoherent drunk slob and you'll never win the presidency. Take that with you. Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry, misinformation, disinformation about health policy. I'm pretty sure you were the one who assured all of us that if we got that damn shot of yours that had been untested and untried, that then we would not get COVID-19 and we wouldn't pass COVID-19, right? Yeah. As somebody said something once about health policies like that are so atrocious and wrong and harm people, and you threaten people and people lost their jobs. People in the military lost their jobs because they wouldn't get the shot. What is the term? I've heard it recently about that. Oh, that's right. I remember. It's up. Thank you for watching our show today. Let's get to your super chats after you like and subscribe to this channel. Like our video, please. Give us a like. I hate begging for likes. It seems silly. You like me. Don't you like me? Please like me. And subscribe to the channel. God's best friend. Welcome back, my friend. £2 super chat. Hostage Square in Tel Aviv. Renamed, I think he means, Sinwar Square. Hey, good job there. Sinwar, I have not seen that. I have not seen that. Is that a joke or is that a thing?
I don't know.
It's God's best friend, and I don't always get his humor if it is humor. Jeff and Aaron Kilmer, because it shouldn't be called Hostage Square anymore, right? Because the hostages are released. Jeff and Aaron Kilmer, $1.99 super chat 9 times. If you know, you know.
I got this one.
You do? When did it happen during the show?
All right. I think this is referencing Speaker Johnson talking about how Democrats voted against reopening the government 9 times. and they're making a reference to that scene from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Right.
The guys on the phone is like 9 times.
Oh,
9 times.
Wow. That is a good poll. 9 times. I love Ferris Bueller's Day Off. All right, Jeff and Aaron, if that's correct, let Kevin know. Paul Weymouth with the $2 super chat. ID before you vote. Match Social Security number to name. Yeah, that's a no-brainer. We should do that in every state. Another $2 super chat from Paul. I love your politics, Larry. Make Maine red. Census. Oh, that would be a beautiful thing. Maine is red in certain patches, and thank God you've got that little thing with your electoral college, so it's not winner take all. Thanks, Paul. Good luck there. Look at that lobster claw. Let's go.
Speaking of that, Supreme Court right now is hearing arguments for the Republican challenge to the Voting Rights Act.
In Louisiana. That's right. I'm told that if you support those changes, you are racist, Kevin, so it's got to be good. God's best friend with the £2 super chat. You call me NZ. I wear it as a badge of honor. Yeah, these days. Yeah, I don't think he means New Zealand. Paul Weymouth with the $2 super chat. King Jeffries of Dollar Store Ditch Morons. Yeah, Hakeem's done, isn't he? There's no way. He's gonna. They're gonna get rid of him. Paul again with the $2 super chat. I like Mike Schreiber Ministries. Be like Larry. BLL. Be like Larry. My God, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But I like Mike Schreiber too. He's a super fan. Dennis Harmon, thank you for that $25 super chat. Thank the Almighty God that you guys watch, break down, and summarize the news for us. Well done, Larry and Kevin. Keep it up. Kevin's phenomenal the way he breaks down these stories and builds the narrative. I'm just along for the ride. Thank you, Dennis. We really appreciate that. You guys, by the way, if I can just pause, whether it's the super chats at the end of the show or the chats during the live chat and the comments you're leaving on our shows and on our segments, you guys have been so generous with your praise for us lately, and we love it, and we do read it. And sometimes I read it under a different account, so I don't want to like it, or I like it, but I do. I like them all, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And Kevin and I were just talking about it. It really does keep us, really happy and focused on our job every day by reading those comments. It really means the world to us. Thank you, guys. John Schurer, $10 super chat. You do an outstanding service to show us what is actually happening. Thanks. Thank you, sir. And that is a beautiful. Is that from Arlington? Is that the old guard there with the draped casket? That is incredibly powerful. Thank you, John, for that. Retired Nana with a $5 super chat. Have you seen the cartel has hit and federal agents and their families? The cartel has hits and federal agents and their families. I have not seen that. Is that a story that just broke, Kev?
I think I saw a headline about that last week, but yeah, very concerning. Not surprising, unfortunately.
Nope. No, we're in a serious law enforcement crisis, almost a war right now with these people. Psychological projections, £2 super chat. Dems are accusing Trump of imagined future crimes. Yeah, exactly. That's what they do. He's going to illegally violate the Insurrection Act, and he's going to send in troops, and he's going to invade states. It's civil war garbage. Thank you, Psychological. Thank you, PP. Retired Nana, $5 super chat. Also, Antifa is using a storage facility in Portland. They were caught bringing a cart full of supplies. I'm using my silver. I saw that. I saw Andy Ngo with that video. That was amazing. So how is it Andy Ngo and these independent journalists on the ground see what Antifa is doing and see how they keep all their supplies and their weapons and their garbage in a storage container, but the police can't find this? Or for that matter, the FBI. Hopefully the FBI saw that video and they're all over it. Thank you, Retired Nan. I love that puppy dog. Paul Weymouth, look at you. You are really active today. $2 super chat. Thank you. Appreciate it. Joy and Spew look like cast of Hocus Pocus. Stupider. Yeah, that's a great comparison, especially for Halloween. You're right. God's best friend, £2 super chat. Kamala can't laugh. Progress. Oh my God. Oh, I should have used that joke. I can't laugh at this. Thank God, because we hate it when that woman laughs. It's just like nails on a chalkboard. That's hilarious. Thank you, God's best friend. Paul Weymouth. I just want lobster now. $10 super chat. Thanks for reading our super chat in positive mode. Oh, absolutely. No other way to do it. Thank you, Paul. God bless you, man.
If we're not laughing, we're crying.
Right? You want to go get some lobster rolls now?
If you're buying, you bet.
Do you have a lobster roll place near you?
I don't.
Because you think so. You know where I live.
That's true. I got to come up to you for that.
Dude, we got a lot of crab cakes and lobster rolls in beautiful Annapolis, man. Including so my son, who's now 20, But when he was like, you know how 17-year-olds eat, Kevin? Like you did when you were 17.
A lot?
Yes. We would park up at the top of Main Street in Annapolis, but the restaurant that we were going to for lunch or brunch was like all the way down at the main dock. But we liked walking down Main Street, the cobbled streets, it's old city of Annapolis. On the way to the restaurant for like a big ass Sunday brunch, we would stop and he would get 2 lobster rolls on the way to the restaurant and eat them as we walked down the street.
So he was an affordable child.
Oh my God. Honestly, I had spent so much money on food for that kid. And he did. All my kids have very rich tastes. That's why we appreciate all the super chats, everybody. Thank you for watching today. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. My name's Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry.